Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Reaction Time. This podcast will be 90% younger Bastida propaganda.
Yep.
Iowa State, Missouri. We're done with the regular season. Dual season's over. And Iowa State beat Missouri 41-3. Few notable things, right? We can start with the fact that before the duel even started, I was told that some fans were like, I don't know if reprimanded is the word to use, but some fans were told they could indeed not have duck whistles, duck
calls.
calling whistles. I think they had them. I think they were using them already. I think Missouri came out to warm up maybe, and what few fans were in there were up to their shenanigans.
Yeah.
I had someone DM me that they had ducks. So that's how I got the picture. They let me know.
Little rubber ducks.
Yep. Brought their own. Bring your own ducks. And everybody was very unhappy with the 165 pounds. I felt bad for that kid.
No, poor Jeremy Jankowicz. It wasn't his fault, and fans know that's not his fault. They're booing the coach,
right?
Not poor Jeremy.
The situation.
But Jeremy was absolutely on the receiving end of 7,000.
Was that when we started figuring this out?
Yep, when they wrestled you and I.
Missouri's driving up to Cedar Falls, and suddenly news starts swirling that Missouri's lineup is sick. Just magically sick.
Very ill.
Everyone. Every single starter.
Almost the entire lineup.
Besides Zach Elam and Josh Edmond are sick.
Yeah. The two guys ranked lower than Iowa State guys.
Yep.
Two of the guys. I mean, there's other ones too, but the two most notable.
Yep. And so, meltdown started. We had meltdowns, of course, because you have the biggest duel in the Big 12.
Yep.
And suddenly everyone in Missouri sick. My take, I'm sure someone was sick.
Yep.
I want to believe Keegan was sick just because what we know about him, right? Like, we don't know him personally, but I want to believe that Keegan would not fake sick.
Yeah.
That's what I want to believe.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to accuse him of it, but I just think it's a little weird that before this weekend, suddenly your whole lineup's a wreck.
Yep.
That's just weird.
It's weird. I mean, this is what I was saying to people at and before the meet. I never want anyone to be sick. I don't want to wish ill on anybody.
Right.
But I kind of hope they were all sick, because otherwise it looks really cowardly.
Yeah.
And I think that's to your point about Keegan O'Toole. That doesn't seem to be in his nature to want to duck people. Now, Coach Kevin Dresser, after the dual meet, did begin his press conference by saying that Missouri deployed a strategy, and he said, we'll see if that strategy works for him. So he is firmly on the camp of, he doesn't think that they were sick and they were probably dodging. And I'm going to go ahead and assume that Kevin Dresser has more information than I do.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and guess that a lot of those guys were probably not that sick if they were sick, and probably did duck. And as far as Keegan O'Toole goes, like I said, neither Jackie or I knows him personally. We only know what we've seen him in from interviews and tweets and things of that nature. So it doesn't seem like it'd be in his personality. But when your coach holds out 7 other guys out of the lineup, 6 other guys out of the lineup, what if he just tells you, no, we're not going to bring you?
Yeah.
What do you do as a wrestler in that position? Even if you want to wrestle, but your coach says no, you can't just force yourself on the bus and force yourself on the mat. Maybe you can try, but we'll see. I mean, we won't see, actually. We won't know. But that's where my mind went. It was like, I don't think Keegan would do it, but if your coach says that you're going to do it, you kind of have to listen to him. So I hope again, it feels really weird to say you hope someone's sick, because that's not a situation that is ever a reality.
Right.
But that is a better alternative than ducking David Carr in what could have been the biggest match of the entire season, and the
Right.
entire past few seasons. So really tough situation. And it's Jackie and I are only speculating, which makes it not easy to talk about. But
Right.
it's a tough situation, a very unfortunate situation regardless. And I mean, props to David for being all class about it. But yeah, tough situation.
Well, and Coach Smith had shared Friday night with one of the interviews he did. I believe it was with Flo. He said that he left a van. He said, I left a van or a Suburban or something, because allegedly the plan was, if Keegan felt up to it, that he would be driven up to Ames on Sunday or Saturday, I suppose. But that obviously didn't happen.
No.
But like you said, we'll never know. I think it pushes Eli, who covers wrestling for the Register, and I had a good conversation of, like, it pushes us again to sit and ask ourselves, how do we make duels matter more to where guys can't duck out of matches? And again, like you said, it's very difficult to have the conversation without necessarily like pointing fingers, but like, how do we make duels matter so that every match matters? You know what I mean? So yeah, I think it was extremely unfortunate, regardless of whether it was ducking, whether it was actually being sick. It ultimately robbed us of something that we had talked about every single day for a week.
Yep.
So it's hard.
And since the beginning of the season, since the end of last season, we've talked about this.
Yeah. And I think even Dresser said it, like, you spend all this time promoting it and then this is what you have. So, but what I told someone who asked me, or maybe it was Aiden, we kind of talked about how, despite the duel not being what it was supposed to be, we were still able to get some good stuff out of it, right? Like Anthony Echemendia had us on the edge of our seats. That was very stressful. Like Hilton was a hot mess. And then you kind of like work your way towards David's match, and then that's a whole thing. And then you have MJ do his thing, and then you kind of keep working your way, and then you get to Younger. It's like there was still enough that it was still pretty rowdy. I'll give this. There was 7,013 fans in attendance, and they were hostile.
They were.
They were hostile from the moment you walked in.
Yep.
So the environment was pretty fun, honestly. I was pretty stressed down there.
It was great. It was a wonderful environment. So shout out to the people that did go. It was an excellent environment for wrestling.
Yeah, for sure. Before we get into the obvious ones that we'll talk about, give me your takeaway about all the other matches that aren't David Carr or Younger Basido.
Yeah, it went how you'd expect it to go against a lineup that was missing 8 starters. Evan Frost dominated, Casey Swiderski dominated, Cody Chittum dominated, MJ Gaitan dominated. Will Feldkamp, coming back from injury, wrestled Colton Hawks, who was Missouri starter last year, at least for a time. I think he finished the season as their starter. And lost 12-8. And again, similar to Anthony Echemendia, who we'll talk about, Feldkamp was the aggressor the entire match. He just went for something when it wasn't there and got taken down and put on his back for a little bit. And he couldn't quite come back the same way Anthony did. And Coach Dresser said it, and I'm in the same camp he is. I'm not worried about that. It was his first match back from a relatively serious injury, a strained elbow. So that one didn't really worry me. And then Julian Broderson is the last one. I mean, shout out to Julian Broderson. He's the guy we've talked about a lot this season. I think expectations at the beginning of the season were pretty, not really high for him, but NCAA qualifier. Fortunately, hasn't quite lived up to that status, but he did get a good win in his final dual meet in Hilton, 7-2 over Jesse Cassette. And that's a great way to end your Hilton career. If that's, I mean, he's going to wrestle in the Big 12s, but if that's his last dual meet, that's a great win for him.
Yeah. When he got that second takedown, it was one of those internal, like, yes, good for you.
Yep.
I'm so glad you got this for yourself.
Yep.
So, no, yeah, I agree. It was good to see him get that. I know he's had a few tough losses, so good to see him be able to close out on a high note instead of, disappointed. So,
the last thing, Kyson Tarakina was not in attendance at all that we could see at the dual meet. Ethan Perriman won by forfeit because Missouri, who has 325 pounders, did not bring a single one of them, which is an interesting decision. Maybe they were all sick. But yeah, Ethan Perriman is one who won by forfeit. Kyson was not in attendance. He did not take the mat. So That's the other notable thing. We don't know what his status is going to be for Big 12s.
Yeah,
That's
not sure.
unclear. So we'll find out next week when we talk to Dresser about that.
But hey, I mean, Ethan Perriman, he got full intro, new updated video.
Yep.
He got the whole walkout.
He did.
I loved that.
And unfortunately for him, he still had to make weight. You still have to make weight to accept a forfeit. So he had to cut down all the way to 125 just to get his hand raised and walk back off the mat. How annoying is that?
I was going to say,
like you cut down, you don't even get the reward of actually wrestling.
I know. I wonder how much he was weighing when they were like, hey, man, it's going to be you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, I would agree. It was good to see, Julian get a win. MJ Gaitan pinned his guy as
he does.
I was telling Aiden earlier, like when next season, when it's MJ's matches, I need to physically walk to the other side because he always celebrates towards the bench immediately. That's where he looks. So I never get a picture of him because it's his back.
Yeah.
So not that MJ needs to cater to me, but if he wants to celebrate in my direction, that would make for better pictures.
I have a theory about MJ Gaitan.
Oh.
All right.
I think he's the Rob Jones of this wrestling team. He's just a ball of chaos, one way or the other, good or bad.
That's fair. I would probably say
he's not nearly chaotic on the bad side.
Right.
But it's just like you never really know what's going to happen with him.
No, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
From one match, from one moment to the next, because like against the UNI guy, he put himself on his back a couple times and like it didn't cost him. But in those moments, you're like, please don't pin yourself.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I get that.
Yeah. That kind of hit me on Sunday.
Yeah.
I love it. I was waiting for you to say but MJ is better.
But MJ is better.
There you go.
No offense to Rob Jones. Not that Rob Jones is going to listen to this podcast, but no, I would agree. He stresses me out sometimes.
Yep.
Those scrambles where he's going for the pin, I'm just like, oh God, what if he ends up pinning himself on accident? But you know what?
Which I don't think he's ever done. I don't think he's ever pinned himself. So like, I don't know why I get as nervous as I do when he puts himself to his back because he always gets out of it. But like, it's just a natural instinct of like a wrestler's not supposed to be on their back and he puts himself on his back sometimes. So it's just like, please don't. And then he ends up pinning the guy. It's like, all right, fine.
Well, I also think Iowa State just hasn't had a lot of guys like that.
Yeah.
Whereas right now, this lineup does. Cody Chittum stresses me out. MJ Gaitan stresses me out. Like
Will Feldkamp.
What are they going to do? You don't know. So whereas like before, I feel like it was definitely not that. Like we would get it in such rare occasions that that's why when Jason Kreiser came in, everyone's like, dear God.
There was one guy, Jason Kreiser, who did that. Yeah. Like even Jarrett Dagan, who had a pretty funky style, never put himself on his back.
No. And ironically, it would be Josh Edmond who would get him in those scrambles. But yeah, it just hasn't been a very common thing for us at Iowa State. Nope. So Anthony Echemendia.
Yeah.
That guy. He I told Aiden I got a video of him when he won and he threw up a heart. I don't know if you saw that. He did a little hand heart.
I did see that.
I need to share that. I got a video of it. So he had Josh Edmond as wrestled him quite a few times. Anthony won the match 10-9. And there was a moment in the first period, right? It was in the first period when he kind of somehow ended up on his back, gave up a takedown and back points.
Yeah, we went for a throw, and Edmond is very good upper body, which is why Jarrett Dagan struggled with him because that's all Jarrett did, his upper body stuff. So Anthony went for a throw, ended up on his own back, gave up a takedown for a near fall, squirmed out of a pin, which great. And then went to work, man, because he was down 7-0 right at the beginning and got a takedown, got another takedown. And then the third period with 30 seconds left, I think. It was upper body again. Like there was almost the exact same body lock. And he went for it again and he ended up on top this time and got the takedown, rode him out, which was a thing because if you didn't ride him out, he won 10-9. If you didn't ride him out, you're going to sudden victory.
Yeah.
And when you have 3 takedowns in a row, you like your chances in sudden victory. But man, that last lift and throw by Anthony was electric. Like when you see the video for that Cyclone Wrestling put out, you just see all the fans in the first 10 rows just stand up immediately as soon as he lifts them up off the mat. It's like, oh, okay, here we go.
Yep. You can tell that he's definitely in a much more confident space. So when I saw him going for it again, I was like, oh, I really hope he just launches it. Just do it. And he did. And that's what you want to see from guys, right? You want to see them get to a place where they just throw it out there. And I think that's exactly what Anthony's been doing. So, and not to mention, Edmund gave up 2 stall points.
Yep.
So those stall calls from Missouri, besides the one that they randomly gave Chittum, but neither here nor there.
Yeah, that one, oh boy. That Chittum stall was bad. But a notable thing about Josh Edmond is he beat Cale Happel a couple days before against you and I. And Happel was, I mean, Echemendia beat Happel as well, but Happel was ranked number 6.
Yep.
So like Josh Edmond isn't a nobody. He's a very good wrestler. So that was a really good win from Anthony Echemendia.
Yeah, no, I agree. I feel like if you look at the ranking just on paper, you might be like, oh, it shouldn't have been that close. But like you said, it was a good match besides that third period where Edmund clearly was like, I'm checked out here.
Yeah, I'm having a tough time. I'm just trying to survive.
Yeah. So what Dresser saying the post duel, he was like, shout out to Team Cuba today or something.
Yeah.
Because they had those were probably the loudest matches, was Younger's and Anthony's, just from an action standpoint.
Absolutely.
So
we need to acknowledge Kyvan's call.
That was
on
incredible.
The Echemendia throw.
Yes,
it was. I think Kyvan had an out of body experience.
He did. He for sure did.
Oh my gosh!
Did you hear that, Jackie? Have you seen that? Oh, you need to see that. It's incredible.
I'll pull it up quick.
Okay.
Show it to the audience. Good. Is it the one that Andy tweeted that said "sound up"?
No, that was just the crowd's reaction. Okay. But no, Kyvan had an excellent call on that.
I love it.
Where he just screamed. I never heard Kyvan show that much emotion, and it was fantastic.
I was telling someone, one of my best friends yesterday was like, oh, how was the duel? Like, did it end up being a lot more calm since the lineup wasn't what you thought? It was honestly kind of a chaotic day to cover wrestling.
No.
Like, I was very behind on updates. I was like scrambling, trying to get all the pictures as I transfer them during the matches or in between. I don't know what it was about Sunday. Regardless of Missouri's team makeup, I was just like not as on it. I was just all over the place. So I had to catch up on like 800 tweets after the duel.
That's fair.
Show it to us.
Echemendia on the hunt, gets to the side. Body lock position.
No! Takes him to his back for 3. Oh my God. That really must have been. You're right.
Body lock position. No! Takes him to his back for 3.
It's incredible.
Yeah, that definitely sounds like an out-of-body experience.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, it sounds like he definitely was. It's like one of those moments where you kind of forget that you're in the zone, in the moment. No, I get it. Relatable.
Yep. It wasn't dissimilar to my reaction. I don't know if I screamed, but I was like, oh boy, here we go.
Yeah, I don't know what I was doing in the moment. Again, in those moments where things like that happen, I just kind of black out. It's like I'm just trying my best to make sure I'm capturing what I need to be capturing. So that's funny. I wish I could have heard him. I'm not even sitting that far away from him. Like I said, I'm not kidding. The crowd was so loud. I think
it was.
I think them being loud is what probably also had me kind of like anxious.
Yeah.
But no, that's awesome. I love it. Shout out to Kyvan, who did a wonderful job this season.
He did.
That's awesome. Did. I love it. Raw emotion. David Carr. So David goes into this, and I will give, like you said, kudos to David, because when he was asked about it after, he said at the end of the day, it was still good for him to have mentally prepared for that match regardless.
Yep.
Which is true. It's good. You put yourself in that mindset. It gets easier as the season goes, because at the end of the day, they're probably going to meet up twice.
Yep.
So
most likely.
And it wasn't obviously what he wanted, but you know, he still got to go out there. I love that he clearly was like on his way to a tech fall and just went ahead and got a pin.
Yep.
Like, if you're going to close it out one way, I'm glad it was a pin. I'm glad he got to have the standing ovation. And David talked a lot about how cool the crowd was. And he mentioned how the whiteout was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen the whiteout for basketball. I did not know what to expect for wrestling,
Mm-hmm.
and it was awesome.
That was very good.
Like the crowd was very, very much all wore white shirts. So it made the moment almost like looking at the pictures, it just looks very, I don't even know how to describe it, but just all the sea of white t-shirts in the background.
Mm-hmm.
Is pretty cool for David. But he signed the mat.
Yep.
Who was it? I can't remember who he credited.
Hidley from North Carolina State. Don't remember which one. It was either Hayden or Trent Hidley, but I don't remember which one.
Yeah, he like bent down and he signed the mat. Well, signed the mat. He didn't actually sign the mat. And then went and celebrated with his team.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yep.
If we couldn't have a Keegan O'Toole match, I think he got the best case scenario, which is a first period pin,
Yep.
standing ovation, 7,000 fans are standing cheering for you.
Yep.
So,
and the pin came off a dresser dump too.
Oh,
which
yes.
is fun.
Yes.
The move his coach coined, invented, not quite invented, but made popular for sure. Hit the dresser dump for a pin in his last match in Hilton.
In my post-roll story, I wrote how David is probably going to be one of the most entertaining wrestlers of the dresser era.
Mm-hmm.
And I think David doing the dresser dump is like such a testament to that, because that is like that is part of his training process. Like he sat down and thought, I'm going to incorporate this into my match.
Mm-hmm.
So
this is going to be how I win.
Yeah.
Imagine being so good at what you do that you get to decide how you're going to win.
And he does that often.
He does.
So David, like we've said for weeks, what a career, 67-0.
Mm-hmm.
So
in dual meets.
Yeah, in dual meets. Crazy. Never lost a match in Hilton. Like, can you imagine that? Like of his entire career, all he's ever experienced is winning.
Yeah, up there with Dan Gable and Kel Sanderson.
So
it's pretty good company.
Yeah. No, I think, like we've talked about, our days are numbered with David. So it's a bittersweet moment, but I'm excited because I know he's about to give us the best performance ever in the month of March. Like, if you want to talk about a guy who's going to go throw it out there, it's going to be David. And now you almost have like this added little chip on your shoulder that you didn't get to have the Keegan O'Toole matches that you were going to have, right? Like again, we've talked about it for weeks, how these guys are going to go back and forth 3 times in a row. And that's not what we got.
Nope.
So it just adds a little extra. So I'm curious to see what David's cooking for us for Big 12s and NCAAs. So it'll be interesting. But going on to the big match of the day, the top 5 matchup we had, Zach Elam, Yonger Bastida, the only match we weren't robbed of. I did question, will Yonger pick him up? Will Yonger be able to pick him up? And we asked Yonger, and Yonger very confidently has said he doesn't care who it is. He's going to go for it. And I think it was you that asked him, and he said, I've wrestled freestyle. Like, that's what you do.
Yep.
So it's already in his nature to just do it. But when he did it, it was one of those like slow-mo moments where I was sitting there with my camera and I was like, is he really going to do this? And it was glorious. It was beautiful. I think the crowd lost their minds.
Yep.
It was, again, one of those moments where I almost felt like I blacked out in the moment. Talk about it from your perspective, since you sit up higher and you get to kind of oversee the arena.
Yeah. So he had already had a couple takedowns by that point. Zach Elam looked like he was struggling, looked like he was not having a fun time.
Nope.
And I saw him open up, and I'd seen it before, and I'm guessing Yonger saw the same thing, where Elam at a couple times just kind of stood straight up as he's backing away from Yonger.
Yep.
And I saw Yonger hit that double, and the ref, one of my favorite parts, not my favorite, the second favorite part of that moment was the ref hit him for stalling in that moment too. So Zach Elam got hit for stalling. He's getting double legged. And as soon as Yonger hit the double leg, it's like, oh my gosh, I think he's going to pick him up, because when he hit that double leg, he could have just gone behind him and taken him down. Would have been easy. That's what 99% of heavyweights do, is they just go behind him after they hit the double leg. But he hits a double leg, picks him up, and literally drives his face, Zach Elam's face, into the mat. And after that moment, he was broken. Like, Yonger Bastida does not try to ride anybody. I'm not saying he can't. He's not great at it, but I'm not saying he can't. but he doesn't try to ride anybody. He's comfortable on his feet.
Yeah.
And Zach Elam just let Younger ride him. And there's a couple more after that where Younger let him up. Like, he physically let him up. He stood up off of him so Zach could stand up, because Zach didn't want to. He wanted to stay on the mat and be defeated. And Younger wasn't ready for that. He's like, no,
Yeah.
I'm going to take you down a couple more times, actually. So yeah, my perspective of the double leg and picking him up and literally driving his face into the mat was, I freaked out. Similar to Kyvan, honestly, in that moment, I know I did kind of go, oh my gosh, like, it's happening. And it did happen. And it was awesome.
I love how confident Younger is.
Me too.
Especially because he backs it up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's the risk that you run when you know, either you hype yourself up, or if you're a trash talker, there's always that little room for, well, what if you can't back it up? But so far this season, Younger has backed it up.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, yeah, like you said, he rode Elam a minute 28 to be specific, which is a long time.
Yeah.
It is a long time. And I don't know what, just watching Elam not try, essentially. I don't know if it was because he was just like, yeah, Younger's whooping my ass right now. Like, I don't know. But today I want to let's bring up the tweet.
Mm-hmm.
So Younger wins 13-4. Obviously, this is a huge deal in terms of rankings, in terms of the Big 12. Like, we've been waiting for this matchup just as much as David's, because this is a very important matchup when it comes to Bastida's future in terms of winning a Big 12 title.
Mm-hmm.
Today, Younger Bastida gifted us a tweet where he says, he tweeted, "You can run, but you can't hide. See you in March. Hashtag I am coming. Air Bastida."
And then the photo, for people not watching it, is the Grim Reaper meme where he's gone through 3 rooms before and he's knocking on the room of the 4th door. And the first one is the Michigan guy, Lucas Davison, then Colton Schultz, then Zach Elam. And then on the 4th door, it's Greg Kirkfleet and Wyatt Hendrickson. And it is incredible. Because Younger's beaten 3 other top 5 guys.
Yeah.
All 3 of those guys were top 5 when Younger
Mhm.
wrestled them. And then now Lucas Davison is the only one that's not. So Younger, that was an incredible tweet. He's a different kind of guy right now. It's like he said it both Thursday and on Sunday. When guys wrestle me, they have to survive. And that's exactly what we saw with Zach Elam. Zach Elam did not survive.
No.
I think he tried to survive in that first minute or 2.
Yep.
But then I think he realized real quick he can't survive. He's like, oh, I'm in over my head. And he just kind of shut down. And Younger said that was going to happen. He's like, he's not a guy who scores a lot. So I think I'm just going to be able to go in there and he's going to have to survive. And he didn't. Zach Elam did not survive.
I think what also makes me love Younger and just what he's like as an athlete is that Younger always talks with an ego about himself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've never heard him just sit and trash on anyone, or just like, you know, like the banter he gives us. It's just about him and his confidence and what he knows he's capable of. And I really respect that, because I think it just highlights how comfortable he is as an athlete, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, he is just so confident in what he's capable of that I believe him when he says his opponents don't matter.
Yeah.
Like, I believe him. When others say, I don't necessarily believe them. It's just, it's like coach speak, right? Like, oh, I'm just focused on the opponent ahead of me, you know? But I believe Younger that he really does truly believe that he can beat Greg Kirkfleet and Wyatt Hendrickson, just like he's beat all the other heavyweights.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's awesome. I feel like you don't always tend to see opponents, I don't know, treat each other that way. And I feel like I would be so curious to hear what Greg Kirkfleet and Wyatt Hendrickson think about this tweet, because I really don't think that Younger put it out as like a malicious, like,
no,
you know, like, I really think he's being funny, but also like being serious, like confident, like, yeah, I'm ready for the next 2. Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm excited just as much as we've talked about Keegan O'Toole and David. I'm ready to see Younger Bastida and Wyatt Hendrickson in the same room.
Me too.
So we'll see that next weekend. That's what's crazy.
We should.
That's what's crazy.
Yep.
I need
Not this upcoming weekend, the weekend
sorry.
after that.
March, what is it? March 9th? March.
Something like that.
We're so close. I can't believe it. March 9th and 10th. We're gonna see them in a bracket together.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
It's exciting. Barring injury, which again,
fingers crossed.
we should get Bastida and Hendrickson because Younger's proven that no one else in the Big 12 can hang with him.
Yeah.
So it'll likely be Bastida and Hendrickson. One of my favorite moments outside of all of the takedowns from Yonger was in the second period. After the first period, Yonger had choice. He could have chosen bottom, top, or neutral, just like every other period.
Yeah.
And David had said that week prior that Yonger is so good neutral. He's so good on top. He's so good on bottom. And I rolled my eyes a little bit. It's like, Younger's calm down. Younger's not that good on bottom. He's still a freestyle background. He's still not totally used to folk style. And so when Yonger had choice in the second period, I'm like, all right, let's see what he does. He chose bottom immediately. I'm like, all right, let's see what happens. Ref blows the whistle. Zach actually got a little bit of a head start. Like if you watch that, and Dresser even said it after the duel, Elam started early. Ref didn't call it. They let him wrestle. Bastida got up in 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Up and out in 10 seconds. And then that moment's like, oh, probably shouldn't have doubted David Carr. How foolish of me. Like that's what went through my mind. And then, yeah, after the dual meet, I think David said, again, something similar, either David or Younger. It's like, yeah, me and coach and Younger drilled that. Exactly what would happen happened, and Younger got up and out immediately. I'm like, okay, if he's getting up and out against Zach Elam, one of the best guys on top in all of college wrestling,
Yep.
Why can't he win? I mean, it's one of those, and I tweeted this on Sunday too. Younger looks like an NCAA finalist right now.
Yeah.
Like we'll see what happens against Wyatt Hendrickson, but right now it's him and Greg Kirkfleet and the rest of the field. Like there's a gap right now, but we'll see what happens with Wyatt Hendrickson. So
right. One match at a time.
One match at a time.
No, I agree. I think Younger looks the best he's looked since he got to Iowa State. Like by far. He looks great. His size is great. He's confident. He's just, an incredible athlete. He finished the regular season with a perfect 20-0 record in his inaugural season as a heavyweight.
Yep.
His takedown ratio is 83-2.
Pretty good. And those 2 takedowns that he gave up were on his own shots. They were bad shots.
Yep. And one of them was the first one of the season.
The very first one.
He had 13 bonus point victories and 6 top 10 wins.
So, yeah, he had 20-0 record. So, that's a 30%. 30% of his wins came against top 10 opponents, which is a lot. And then his bonus rate was 65%. So 65% of the matches he won by bonus points, which at heavyweight is unbelievable.
Unheard of.
It's him and Greg Kirkfleet. Like those are the only 2 guys that are having a bonus rate that high. So yeah, Younger Bastida, different kind of animal. He absolutely looks like an NCAA finalist right now. And I mean, again, I'm getting ahead of myself. Apologies. But right now it looks like Iowa State has 2 NCAA finalists, David Carr and Younger Bastida. So that's very exciting. But we got to get to Big 12s first. Hopefully they both win Big 12 championships. Throw Casey Swiderski in there. Throw Anthony Echemendia in there. See if MJ Gatan can't pin his way to championship.
That would be fun.
So,
I mean, Marcus Coleman used to be the machine. Now it's MJ.
Yep.
Pin your way through that bracket. Another thing I'll bring up with Younger, and I think this is a testament to the fact when I bring up that, the way he is talking his trash, it's not met with negativity.
No.
So in his tweet, if you go and check the file or the responses and the quote tweets, no one's being mean.
Yeah, I expected Penn State fans to be offended.
Right.
And they're not.
I've seen a few oh, wait till you get Greg, which I agree. I'm very curious to see what he's like up against Greg Kirkfleet because they're very similar body shapes. They're about the same height, maybe.
Yep.
Same
weight, very similar athleticism.
They were just 5 pounds away from each other when Iowa wrestled Penn State. Who knows what that'll look like in a few weeks?
Yeah.
And they have similar styles. I agree. I don't think anyone disagrees that matchup is going to be something else. But people aren't shy to talk crap on Twitter.
Yeah, especially
And-
wrestling fans.
Yeah, if you are involved in wrestling Twitter, no one's afraid to say what they want to say. And no one has said anything bad.
No.
No one's like shading him or like it just shows that other people respect his craft and they know that he's as good as he says he is.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the fact that he has those 6 top 10 wins is a really big deal
Mm-hmm.
because he has had a stacked schedule this season.
Yep.
Like probably, I don't know, I can't remember now compared to the other guys, but he's had probably the like match to look forward to in majority of the things that we've talked about. So
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I'm excited.
It's gonna be really fun.
I'm very happy to be sitting here talking about Yonger in this way compared to how we closed out the season last year.
Right. And like I've always, for the last 2 years, I've been driving the Younger Bastida hype train because like, not to pat my own back, I've seen this from him. Like it's like, this is what his ability is. And then last year he gets injured. He has a really tough time cutting weight and he just couldn't finish the season how we all knew it was possible for him to finish. And then now that he is not having to cut weight, now that he's healthy, we are seeing a guy who can be an NCAA finalist, can win an NCAA championship, and I mean, barring citizenship, can win an Olympic gold medal.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're being honest, that's what his ceiling is Olympic gold medal. So
I agree.
No, he's a different kind of cat.
Well, and a fun part of Sunday too was we got Yonger and David in the post-duel press conference, and their friendship has just been so cool to watch. And Yonger confirmed that David essentially did recruit him to come wrestle at Iowa
He's
State.
the reason. David Carr's the reason Younger's at Iowa State. They met in the 2019 Junior World Championship.
Yeah.
They talked kind of because they couldn't speak each other's languages.
Yeah, they used a translator.
So they used Google Translate or whatever it was. And then a couple years later, when Yonger decided he was going to go to America, I think he said he DM'd David, didn't he? And it's like, hey, I want to wrestle with you.
Yeah. Like that's
and then
crazy.
They did.
And they're just so fun to see. I loved it on Thursday when Yonger was like, David's always there to pick all of us up, you know? And I mean, David quite literally physically picks Yonger up after he wins big matches. So I thought that was like one of those like
poetic moments.
Yes, exactly. And they just speak so highly of each other. And I just think back to the moment when it was David, Marcus Coleman, and Ian. No, was it Yonger?
It was Yonger. It was those three that won All-American.
Yes. It makes me think of that moment when they were hugging and laughing in the back hallways of the arena. It makes me think back to that moment. And how big it was for them to finally achieve what, as a program they really, really wanted. Well, imagine if they get to both wrestle in championship matches. Like you said, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but like imagine their friendship and being able to have that moment after all it took to get Yonger here and become teammates and all the work that's been put into putting this lineup together. Like it's just, again, one of those poetic moments. So,
and again, not to get ahead of ourselves, but if they both are NCAA finalists / NCAA championship champions, that puts Iowa State in a really good spot to win a team trophy. So again, we'll talk about that much more later.
Hypotheticals.
But it's a real possibility.
Yeah, no, it's exciting. Exciting times. In Big 12 news, Big 12 championships are in Tulsa until 2028.
Yep.
John Smith, who you paying? Like,
as fans show up, that's the difference. I mean, they had it in Kansas City one year, and there was still 3 times as many Oklahoma State fans as anyone else. So if you're going to send the most people, you get it at your home arena. It's like the Big 12 basketball tournament. It's in Kansas City because Kansas and Iowa State fans show up. If the Texas schools want it down there closer to by them, they should show up. They don't. So
it's not even that far.
No.
Yeah, no. Next week we're really gonna hit the ground running on, Big 12s. Can't wait to see what those seeds look like. Give me the brackets. I'm just ready to hit that. I love the chaos of the tournament because it's obviously just so fast paced.
Mhm.
These guys are just running a marathon. So I'm excited to see how people step up. I'm excited to see guys like Evan Frost.
Mhm.
I'm excited to see MJ in this environment.
Echemendia. I don't think he's
Yeah.
wrestled a tournament, a
I'm-
postseason tournament. So
I think he's going to be really interesting. Again, next week I'll really hit that campaign. But what is stopping Casey Swiderski from being a Big 12 champion?
nothing. Same thing with Anthony. They both have a clear path to Big 12 championships.
Yeah.
Champions.
So it's going to be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any final thoughts about Sunday's duel?
I am happy to be the captain of the Younger Bastida hype train. I feel vindicated in this moment.
Well, big shout out to the crew in the forums because they're the ones who were like, hey, those t-shirts,
Mm-hmm.
we should do this. And I think I had mentioned, maybe I didn't mention it. We had tried looking into this prior, but it just kind of depended on, Younger status. So we kind of had to be patient with that. But once they reminded me like, hey, we should check in on that again.
Mm-hmm.
I made it happen.
Yep.
We're here.
Yeah.
T-shirts.
International students before this couldn't get NIL. Something changed. I don't know what necessarily, but now international students can get NIL money. So
yeah.
Yeah.
So Younger Bastida shirt officially came out today. What a better day.
mm-hmm.
Younger's the Big 12 wrestler of the week. He gifted us that tweet from today.
Yep.
And now you can get an Air Bastida shirt.
Yep. And some of you may recognize that image. When I first saw it, I texted Jackie immediately. Is that image from this thing? They don't want to say what it's necessarily from because I don't want to accidentally have to pay the other guy too. But that was a moment from this season. I'll say that.
When we were talking artwork, it was just one of those where I was like, it was that match where we were like, oh, he's the real deal.
Yep.
Like we knew he was the real deal, but we, the way the start of the season kind of went, we were just waiting for him to have like a really good ranked opponent.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the first one, right? That he truly lifted. Cause I'm trying to think of that Iowa duel night.
I don't know that he
I was say
that guy up or did
I've
anything
mysteriously
special.
blocked that out of my brain.
Yeah.
But that match was just so significant because it was just like, again, it was like, yeah, this is legit.
He's here.
We're
It's
doing
real.
it.
Yeah.
He's gonna do it. So go buy the shirt.
I already ordered mine.
I love it. I look forward to seeing everyone wearing them in Tulsa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Aiden, do you have any final thoughts? You actually went to the duel.
I did, yeah. With my dad, it was awesome.
Nice.
I love it.
We were actually sitting in the GA side, like on the ends.
Mm-hmm.
And then he got a text from one of his friends, like, hey, we got 2 extra seats next to us. So we were like middle of the mat.
Ooh, nice.
I think 9th row or something like that. It was unbelievable. And yeah, the Echemendia throw for like where I was sitting was unbelievable.
Yeah.
One more thing. When do they announce seating for
It'll be
Big
next
12s?
week sometime.
Yeah.
They don't have a set date for that.
They never do.
It's just like,
awful. It's
one day
vibe.
maybe
They go
we'll
on
wake up.
vibes.
Yeah.
It's a vibes thing.
I can relate to that.
Actually, the coaches have to get together. Like I think there's a coaches call meeting, and then they all argue for their wrestler to be ranked higher.
Yep.
And from what I've heard from coaches, both past and present, is it's an absolute nightmare of a situation.
Sounds like it.
So a whole bunch of very much alpha personalities, type A personalities, get a
imagine?
room, not a room anymore, but a Zoom call. Imagine John Smith and Kevin Dresser arguing about a seed, or Kevin Dresser and Brian Smith arguing about a seed. So it's a mess. It'll happen when it happens, but it'll be sometime next week.
It makes me think of, I think it was Nationals. I was sitting somewhere and they wanted to reorder the finals.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't sound like the communication of that information was done super well.
Mm-hmm.
And I was sitting in the media area, which is just out on the floor, and I was working, and all I hear is John Smith behind me yelling, "Why didn't anyone communicate this?" It was so funny. It was just like, I'm so used to seeing him in the coach's corner. So just see him casually walking around in his vest. And I was like, what is happening?
Yeah.
So I can only imagine what that meeting is like.
And
honestly,
I may have lied because I feel like Kevin Dresser said last year, for the first year ever, they got an outside third party to do it for them, to try to avoid all of this.
Oh.
Do you remember that?
I
He's
feel
like,
like
they
you're
got a whole
saying
bunch
that.
of wrestling nerds, is what he said. They got a whole bunch of wrestling nerds to try
Did
to
he
figure
say
out
like
seating.
Jason Bryant?
Jason Bryant,
and,
yeah, a couple other guys. So that might have changed last year to try to probably avoid some of that conflict.
You say that now, and I feel like I can see us in the
Yeah.
room having this conversation.
Yep.
That's funny.
Shout out to Jason Bryant.
Yeah, love that
Good guy. Definite wrestling nerd.
I would say
but
definitely does a lot for the sport.
Yep.
Yeah. So all vibes from here on out, Aiden. So, did you give us your final thoughts? Was that it?
That's about all I got.
All
right. Fair enough.
Well, we'll be back next week. We'll get a chance to talk to the team before they take off for Tulsa.
Hopefully brackets will be out by then.
Yeah.
Should be. I'd imagine they should be.
You know, you say that now, and I remember schedule. We couldn't figure out when we wanted to record because we couldn't figure out when we were getting information.
Mhm.
So fun stuff. But we're going to do our best to bring you all the coverage we can to prepare everyone to better understand what we're working with for the team. And yeah, all of this truly is only possible because Fareway.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Fareway, who continue to sponsor our work. So yeah, thanks guys. Thanks for listening.